Hey everyone, welcome back. So let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at your Social Security check and thought, this just isn't stretching as far as it used to? Whether it's groceries, gas, or even rent, it feels like the cost of everything has crept up, but your benefits haven't really kept pace. For millions of Americans, Social Security isn't just a check. It's the foundation for everything. It's what keeps the lights on, the fridge full, and the doctor's visits covered. And when changes are made to how much you get each year, even small adjustments can ripple through your entire budget. What's even more important is that there's a number being talked about right now, a new estimate that could shape next year's increase. But how that number is calculated, what it really reflects, and whether it matches your reality, that's the part people don't always hear about. So if you've ever felt like your expenses are moving faster than your benefits, or like the numbers coming out of Washington just don't line up with your experience, this is something you'll want to stick around for. Because there's more going on here than most people realize, and understanding it could help you better prepare for what's coming next. And before we get into it, let me know in the comments, what's one thing you've noticed has gotten more expensive lately? Whether it's eggs, rent, or just your electricity bill. I'd love to hear what's hitting your wallet the hardest right now. And if you find this kind of info useful, or just want a calm place to get clear updates, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Now, here's what's going on. Each year, the amount Social Security pays out is supposed to increase to match the rising cost of living. That increase is based on something called a cost of living adjustment, or COLA for short. And right now, the estimate for next year's adjustment is starting to take shape. The early number? It's sitting at around 2.5%. That figure might not mean much at first glance, but it's what determines how much more you'll receive in your monthly benefits starting in 2026. And honestly, that number carries a lot of weight for folks trying to make every dollar count. Because even a fraction of a percent can make the difference between covering your bills and coming up short. So then, how is that 2.5% number even calculated? Well, it's tied to a government index called the CPI-W, that stands for Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers. It's basically a way of tracking how prices have changed across a basket of common goods and services. But here's where it gets interesting. While the CPI-W shows that prices have gone up just over 2% in the last 12 months, a lot of people feel like they've gone up much more than that. Like way more. In fact, a recent survey found that 80% of older Americans thought inflation was higher than 3% last year. That's a huge gap between the official numbers and what people are actually feeling in their daily lives. And you're not imagining it. When rent increases, grocery bills grow, and medical costs climb. Those aren't always captured fully in the government's formula. That's one of the biggest criticisms of how COLA is calculated. It's based on the spending habits of workers, not retirees. And that can really distort the picture, especially for seniors living on a fixed income. Now, you might be wondering why the official numbers seem so off. One big reason is the way inflation data is being collected right now. Under the current administration, there's been a push to cut costs across federal agencies. That includes the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the group responsible for gathering inflation data. Because of hiring freezes and staff shortages, they've stopped collecting in-person price data in several cities. Instead, they're relying more on estimates and models. And while those models can be useful, they're not always perfect, especially when they don't reflect real, on-the-ground changes in costs. That's where concerns start to build. Because if the numbers they're using to calculate your benefit increases aren't accurate, the adjustment you get could fall short of what you actually need. And that brings us back to this 2.5% estimate. On paper, it sounds reasonable. It's not the lowest we've seen, but it's also not enough to fully account for rising expenses in things like healthcare, housing, or food. The Senior Citizens League, a nonpartisan group that tracks this stuff closely, has been raising alarms about this mismatch. They've even updated their own COLA forecasting model this year to include more factors like interest rates and national unemployment, trying to get a more complete picture. But even then, the problem remains. If the inputs are flawed, the results can be too. And what's more, these increases don't happen in real time. The COLA is locked in once a year based on data from the third quarter. So if inflation jumps later in the year, you're stuck waiting until the following October to see any adjustment. So what can you do about all this? Well, for starters, it's helpful to know where the numbers come from and why they matter. If you're living on Social Security, it gives you more clarity on why your check went up or didn't. And if you're still planning for retirement, it's a good reminder that Social Security may not stretch as far as you think, especially when inflation gets tricky. Also, keep an eye out for local programs that can supplement your income. Things like property tax exemptions, energy assistance programs, food support. All of these can help cushion the gap when COLA doesn't go far enough. And if you're frustrated, you're not alone. That frustration is shared by advocacy groups, economists, and lawmakers who are pushing for changes. One idea that's getting more attention is switching to a different inflation index entirely, one that reflects the actual spending patterns of older Americans, not just workers. There's also been talk about tax reform. During his campaign, President Trump promised to eliminate taxes on Social Security benefits. That's something many people supported. And while that didn't make it into the current bill, called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, there's a $4,000 bump to the standard deduction for seniors in the current proposal. That's meant to help, even if it's not a full solution. And let's be honest, every little bit helps. But people are still watching closely to see if the bigger changes ever happen. Whether it's new inflation measures or more accurate benefit formulas, the need for updates is clear. Because in a time when trust in the system is already shaky, giving people the right tools and the right numbers matters more than ever. You know, I was talking to someone last week who told me, my check went up, but my groceries still went up more. And that stuck with me, because that's the real issue here. It's not about whether inflation is 2.4 or 2.5%. It's about whether you can afford what you need without sacrificing something else. So then, the question isn't just what the COLA number will be next year. It's whether that number actually reflects what people are going through. And if it doesn't, then we've got more work to do. So let me know in the comments. Have your benefits been enough to keep up with your costs? What's something you've had to cut back on lately just to make ends meet? And if you want updates that explain things clearly, without all the noise, feel free to subscribe. I'll be breaking these topics down as they develop and helping you stay prepared one step at a time. Thanks for being here. Let's keep the conversation going. Just pausing for a moment to share something important with you. We've partnered with Chapter, a service we feel confident recommending for clear, honest Medicare help. They'll connect you with a licensed advisor, compare every Medicare plan in your area, and help you save money. Most people save around $1,100 a year. It's free, and their care advocate team is there to support you even after you're signed up. Call 615-639-1937 or visit askchapter.org/money using the link in the comments below.